Hey, it's Dennis O'Brien from Make Your Film, episode 14, Fundraising Part 2. The rant continues. Before we start, Make Your Film is me 5-6 minutes a day just barking about stuff that'll help you, because there's a lot of people out there making their own films. There's a lot of people investing in films, and there's a lot of people that are not in the, quote, film industry, unquote, that don't know what the heck goes on with the producer side of the business, the people that actually decide where we shoot, when we shoot, what we shoot, where we park, where we piss. And before we go any further, today's podcast is brought to you by AlairHomes.com. Alair Homes, living better starts here. They've changed the way that people build and renovate their homes. Go to AlairHomes.com. The key to successful fundraising is understanding exactly what you're raising money for, how it will be used, when it will be needed, and by whom. Who's actually using this money, right? Filmmakers come to me all the time. This guy came to me a couple months ago and he said, I got 4 films. Can I send you the breakdowns? And I said, yeah, go ahead. He sends me 4 synopsises, and at the end of each one, he had a budget. One was $30 million, one was $20 million, one was $15, one was $10. He never made a film in his life. He was shopping films with budgets. And he said, well, we've got comparables in each of those categories. And I'm like, how did you get to those numbers? You know, they just show you comparable films that they got off of some list somewhere and say that's what the budget should be. And then, of course, you have the whole idea of, if you're putting a pitch book together, are you putting preferred talent or real talent? If you have no real talent and you're just putting wish list people in there, then does your budget reflect those people being in it? Or do you have a budget and you really don't have those people, so you don't know what your budget is? And again, it's one of those things that just gets real bumpy, okay? So what do you really need? That's what you got to do. You got to sit down and you go, what do I really need? Well, I got a script. You know, let's say you've got a script. It's well polished. It's ready to go. For some reason, that's not the point of our discussion today. Locations. You got to figure out where you're going to shoot this thing. If it actually takes place on the island of Borneo, well, then you got to go to friggin' Borneo probably. But if it takes place in the mountains, or it takes place in a city, or you have flexibility, right? So get your location. Start figuring out what that's going to cost you, time-wise, day-wise, money-wise. Crew. What's your essential crew? It's not brain surgery. You know what you need each and every day at minimum. And some days you need more, some days you need less. You know, if you have special equipment, special effects, special things, you'll add on to certain days. But most of your days consist of your normal crew. You know, your art direction and prop crew, your wardrobe people, your makeup and hair. And of course, your, gaffer and the electric side, and your key grip and the grip side, camera department. You're starting to get the picture. It's not that complicated. Equipment, you're going to shoot on something. You're going to light with something. You're going to rent that equipment. You're going to figure out what things cost, right? Director, producer, actors, do you have any key players attached already? Build around these core needs, and figure out, take a moment and step back. Are you either the director, the producer, or the editor? Because if you wrote it and you're only going to do it if you direct it, well, that's fine. But then you've got to build your team around that. Okay, so then you have to go find a producer with the real producer credits if you've never directed before. Vice versa. If you're a good producer and you're trying to work with a bigger director, you may have to go get an editor that has a skill set, but you're putting a team together. So know what your role is. Figure out, and even if you're not one of the big 3 and it's still your film, it's fine. Just make sure you plan on your networking, understanding who you are as you speak about going to raise this money, right? Look, budgeting can be overwhelming. Multiple days, multiple locations, actors, crews, hotels, airfares, the list goes on. Budgeting can drive you crazy, but without it, you can't get anything nailed down. Learn about it and make sure you understand it before you start pitching your project, And don't throw unrealistic numbers out like $6 million for this project or $22 million for that project, unless you're actually in the business and you know all those things. Truth of the matter is, go and raise the amount of money you need to make the film. If you add on certain actors and certain upscale things, the budget can be adjusted and additional investors will come in. Look, you get everything put together for a $2 million movie, and then, some big actor like, Liam Neeson says he'll come in and play a role, and you got to go get an extra $2 million. You got to double your budget because you got Liam Neeson. You can go get that $2 million. So, there's always a way. Get your skeletal budget figured out, make a list, figure out what the movie actually freaking costs to make in whatever state, county, city, country you're making it in. And then when you're in that position, you can start figuring out what adding bigger actors and bigger, credibility and maybe a better location, what those things would cost and how your budget would be adjusted. But don't go asking for money that you can't back up with paper. Screw your brain on. Start from Earth if you want to go to Mars. There's never been a better time to make a film. Go to my website, makeyourfilm.net. Go out and make your film now. Go.